said, oh, my mate Dave's one of the best tasters in the world, and he said it's great. But I guess there's only one way to find out. Hi guys, it's Jim here from Dr. Tankenstein with another episode of Beers of the British Isles. On today's episode, we're going to be drinking Limoncello Sour. Now this beer, surprisingly, is brought to you by Black Sheep Brewery. Black Sheep, they're a brewery based in Masham in North Yorkshire. They're kind of an offshoot of a much older brewery. So I guess in 1992, a guy by the name Paul Theakston kind of split off, became the black sheep of the family as he separated from his old brewery, Theakston's Brewery, and started up his own venture, Black Sheep. But even though they are a slightly newer brewery, they're still very traditional. They're still kind of steeped in that traditional English brewing history. For example, they're one of the very few breweries, I think, in the world that still uses the traditional Yorkshire square fermentation system, which is a really cool, innovative thing for the day. I suggest you just go look at it, go give it a Google. It's basically during fermentation, all the foam that's generated makes the yeast rise to the top. The brewers can then scoop the yeast off the top and reuse it. It sounds disgusting. I definitely wouldn't want to clean it, but it's kind of cool, and it's cool that they still use that today. So a very traditional brewery, but like many of those kind of, stalwart breweries, the old boys, they're kind of going through a bit of a transformation recently. They're going through a bit of an image change to kind of keep up with the craft market, I guess. Not that they need to. Their old beers are great and still very marketable. But I guess they just want to appeal more to the modern drinker. And that's, I guess, why you can see this kind of crazy artwork they've got going. It's actually a really cool artwork, I think, that they have here. If I can just draw your attention to the can, it's kind of got this cool sort of geometric ram looking thing on the can. I guess that might be the Black Sheep. But it's kind of cool. It almost looks like a bit of a video game character. So they're going through this image change. We know they can make really good traditional English ales. This sour, this Limoncello Sour, is a bit of a different direction for them. Now, it has won a SIBA award, the Society of Independent Brewers Association, that I can never remember the acronym for, but it has won, that is a real body, and it has won an award from those guys. And this was apparently voted silver by the best tasters, or the world's best tasters, which I'm a little bit skeptical of whether that one's true or whether they just said, oh, my mate Dave's one of the best tasters in the world and he said it's great. But I guess there's only one way to find out whether my mate Dave was one of the world's best tasters, and that's to crack it open and see for ourselves. Okay, we're in the glass. My Limoncello Sour has been poured. It's nice and cold. And actually, I'll mention it now because it's disappearing, but it has actually poured a really good head, which is sort of surprising for a sour, which I'll go on and explain that in a sec. But this beer is a 3.8% Kettle Sour. Now what that means is that the brewery have mashed all the grains to extract all the sugar. They've then added the souring agent, whether that be acid or bacteria. They've added that after the mash has been filtered, after it's been lautered and sparged, and they've soured the beer at that point, so lowered the pH at that point, and then they boil the beer after that to sterilize it. And this is just a way of ensuring that you don't get any cross-contamination. It's a much easier way of souring beers. Some people would say that it gives you a much more one-dimensional acidity. Something like a Belgian lambic has all kinds of layers going on because of all the different acids that are in there. I don't know enough about them to comment on that really, so I'm just going to take a look at the thing. Like I said, the head was quite impressive. My glasses have destroyed that, no problem. But this is actually much more beery looking than I thought it was going to be. I have no information on the grist of this beer, so I don't know what malts are in it, except that they used sugar in it. So I'm wondering whether this is going to be a bit thin, but it actually looks that the color is really nice. So I'm just going to sniff it. Yeah, it kind of smells sour, if that makes sense. It has that kind of real sharp, citrusy sourness, which kind of makes sense because they do mention that they've put bucketfuls of lemon juice in this. So the bucketfuls of lemon juice, the fact that it's kettle soured, and they've used these Lemondrop hops, which gives you a real kind of puckering lemon flavor as well. I'm imagining this is going to be very, very sour. Whew, and there it is, wow. Yeah, God, that is tart. That is tart. Yeah, they definitely did put that lemon juice right in this beer. So there's not a lot of, to be honest, there's not a lot else going on. I personally can't taste anything other than that just cheek sucking sourness. Yeah, it's just a sour beer. Okay, I've got over the initial shock of that lemon bomb that is this Limoncello Sour. So I'm going to sum this one up for you. It's very, very sour. It's such a sour beer. There's not really much else going on. There's no sweetness. There's no bitterness, but that's okay. You know, sour beers don't need any bitterness in them, really. The sourness usually does the job that the bitterness would normally do in a regular beer, or a non-sour beer, excuse me. But really, the sourness is really, really over the top here. What I've done is I've let it warm up a little bit, and I've taken a few more sips and let it warm up in my mouth. What I will say is, if you're going to get this beer and you're going to give it a try, you know, if you like sucking off, if you like lemons, maybe you'll like this. If you like Black Sheep, I probably wouldn't buy this. But if you are going to get this beer and you are going to give it a try, what I'll say is don't drink it cold, because hidden underneath that massive hit of lemon, there is some subtlety, there is some bacterial residues, which doesn't sound very nice, but that's kind of what you get in a sour for, right? For those sort of bacterial notes that you leave behind, those little traces that there's been some kind of cool fermentation going on here, they are there a little bit behind the lemon. So if you drink this a little bit warmer, you'll be able to appreciate that. That being said, it's so acidic. If you drank this at, you know, full on room temperature, it's going to be very, very sickly, and it's going to be not that pleasant. If I'm honest, if I can say this, I don't like to be negative about beers that people have worked hard over. I'm certainly not trying to attack anybody. What I'll say is, if I'm going to rate this on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm going to give this a 3, because it is sour. It's very sour. It's done its job in that regard. But with other sour, especially kettle sours that you get, there's a different flavor there. There's you know, maybe some guava in there, even some grapefruit in there to add that little bit of bitterness. In this, it's lemon juice, it's lemon hops, it's very sour, but you know what? Some people like that, and if that does sound appealing to you, then definitely go out and get this Limoncello Sour by Black Sheep Brewery. If you're in the market for a sour, like I always say, head down to your local bottle shop and ask them for a sour, because some sours out there will just completely change your idea of what beer is. Unfortunately, Black Sheep, I don't think that's what this one is, but it's very refreshing. It would certainly break up a session. So head down, get yourself a Black Sheep. The song I'm going to choose for this episode is Pour Some Sugar on Me by Def Leppard, because that's what I think I'm going to do to this beer in just a sec. So cheers, guys.